here this morning with Pekin. I've got John Thompson.
Campbell.
So
He messed it up already.
Good. Here we go.
Make me look good.
We're good. So we're going to edit to right there. All right. Hey, welcome everybody. We're here today with Pekin Insurance. Got John Campbell is in person with us. Eric Shane is on the Zoom call with us. And guys, I would ask that we, of course, keep our mics muted. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat there and we'll monitor that throughout the meeting. But we are very excited. We have been waiting a long time for, and good things come to those that wait, right? The old Heinz 57 commercial. We have been waiting a minute for this product, and it is the new product from Pekin, their new final expense product. A couple things pop out. It's going to give us an ability to go up to 50,000. Most companies it's 30, 35, day one coverage, instant decision, but I'm not going to spoil all the surprises. I'll kick it over to you guys, Eric and John, you guys take over. And again, guys, just any questions you have, put them in the chat and we'll answer them as we go. So.
Okay. Thanks, Dallas. I mean, he did touch on the big points. We've got through a lot of feedback from brokers. We built this product and we're happy to introduce it. It is live out there. It's got the instant decision, robust commissions, electronic application signature process, and policy delivery. What I thought would be best to start it off with is Zach, if you're ready, you've got a demo loaded up that we can go through the process.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. I will launch right into the demo of the EAP system and go through all the way up till the end where you would get a decision on screen. So I'm going to go ahead and so used to Teams, it'll take me a second to figure out how to take control of this. It does say host is disabled participant screen sharing.
Allow screen sharing.
Zach, I'm going to make you the co-host actually here.
Perfect.
So here and
Co-host.
there it is. Now you should be able to share your screen.
There we go. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
All right, so just to start this off, to enter into the e-application would be the typical way that you would enter into a Pekin e-application. You log into your portal, you'd go into the rating tool, the life and health rater, and launch into the life illustration. From this point, you will launch into your personal agent portal for the e-application system. So you would be able to start a new case if you have a new client, or you'd be able to go in and view any previous cases that you've already started. Just to kind of show you a little bit with what came into this release. When you go in to start a new case, you would pick the state that you're licensed in. You would now see a new drop down of product types because we have, with the launch of Final Expense, removed the ability to sell simplified issue, whole life, and graded, and have replaced that with the Final Expense product. So I just did want to kind of show you that if you went into whole life, you would now only see the preferred whole life option for that product, and you would see the Final Expense product in its replacement. Have already loaded up a test case here. So we will launch into that one as if we've already kind of met with the client and are proceeding through it. The quotes and illustrations tab is a little bit different compared to our other products. First and foremost, it is not required to launch into this product. You can go straight into the application. The information showed as required is just to run a quick quote up front. Because there's multiple tiers within this product, you may not know where the client qualifies right off the bat. So you're not required to run the illustration to get into the application, but you can if you want to get an idea of pricing. So our test insured is a 72-year-old male non-smoker. If we were looking for $12,000 of coverage on a monthly EFT basis, we could calculate that and get a premium for all three of the plans within the final expense product. And let's keep an eye on this 114.57 because we're going to try to make that match when we get through this. You would then launch into the application. This would all be blank if it's a brand new client. For the testing purposes, we filled out some of this to make it go a little quicker, but the first screen that you launch into is the proposed insured screen. It captures all the details on the actual applicant, name, date of birth, social security number, driver's license, all that information. There are, within these first couple screens, a couple things that would kick them out of a final expense coverage. For now, those couple things are if they are not a US citizen, if they do not have a valid driver's license, or if they may answer anything yes in medical question segment A. Any of those scenarios, you would get a message on screen that says they do not qualify for final expense. You would close out and you would not be able to proceed through the application. If they pass through those minor validations, you would go through, you'd fill out the rest of the information. At the bottom, you would choose if the owner was supposed to be somebody different or if it is the insured. And then you also have the ability to choose at this point how you want to deliver the policy. And we have made available all methods of delivery for this product. So we can paper mail to all three parties, and we can electronically send it to all three parties. If we do electronically send the policy, all email addresses for all parties would be required. Move on into the next screen. This is the first block of medical questions. This establishes the basis of being able to offer them coverage. So like I said previously, if they answered anything yes there, they're not deemed eligible for coverage and you would not be able to move forward. But if they are all no, you would move on. At this point, we're going to gather the agent's information and get the HIPAA signed so that we can start ordering evidence on the back end. So you would fill out some information pre-fills based off of your login, but you are able to choose a different suffix should you need to. In most cases, when you log in, your suffix is tied to your login, so it should pre-fill to whoever you are at that time. Your email address should pre-fill as well. And at this point, we're telling you that the application is in good order. And then this is the point where we would lock all of the information that we've gathered thus far so that we could send this case into our backend system. Once that's locked, you just move on into the next screen. And at this point, we've included some electronic signature verification and consent. So this is all the same consent verbiage that is on our paper application. We would expect the agent to read this aloud to the client to make sure that they understand. And once they understand, you would get their verbal consent to acknowledge that they understand. Click that box, and now you can start the e-signature process. Now, we do have an option here to skip the HIPAA signature process. In most cases, I would suggest at least trying to apply the signature first, and we're gonna offer you two options to do so. The first option, you're gonna launch into what we call the KBA, and this is a knowledge-based authentication. And what it does is it pulls against public records, it pulls back specific information on the applicant and provides a list of questions. I think it's in the range of 3 or 4 questions, very specific to that applicant. And based off of their answers, if they pass it, that would act as their consent and their signature, and the signatures would be applied to all of the forms on the application, and you would move directly into the next part of the application. If they were to fail, not understand the question, not give you a correct answer, we would launch into the secondary option of signature, and that would be texting a PIN to their cell phone number. The cell phone number would pre-fill from their proposed insured information. You would hit a button to send the PIN. They would get that PIN, and it would look something like this. It just says your Pekin signature code is blank. They would give you that 5-digit code. You would key that in, and then if that is successful, that would then also act as their signature. It would apply to all forms, and you would not have to send emails back and forth and try to get their digital signature that way. If for whatever reason that they were not able to get that PIN after 2 tries, or they give it to you, but they give it to you incorrectly after 2 tries, you then would be able to skip this HIPAA signature process. You'd still be able to fill out the complete application, submit it to Pekin, but Pekin would then call and request wet signatures on the forms as they were not able to be captured at the time of the application. I will show you how the PIN works for when a payer is separate, because payers and owners only sign via PIN. But I also want to show you the KBA process too. So we're going to go through the KBA for the insured, and I'll show you the text PIN for the payer. When you launch into it, it just goes over our e-signature consent terms of use. Once those are understood, you would click that box, agree, and it will automatically launch you into the KBA. And in the test environment, this does take a little bit of time. So it launches you straight in. This one has three questions for the test. They're all answered no, but they're very specific to the insured. So in the cities, do they currently live? Have you ever had a street like this in the past? And do you have any professional licenses? So they're very specific. They should know the answers, but if they don't, we do have a fallback option of signing the application. Once you verify the identity, it should just launch you straight into the HIPAA. It does, and it is now going to allow you to click here to apply their signature. Once that's done, you can view the copy if you would like. And you can see that we have now applied their signature to this form, but we have also applied the signature to all forms. So they do not have to go through this process multiple times, just a one-time deal, and all of their signatures will be applied. After this, you will immediately launch into the next batch of questions. And that is medical segment B, and this qualifies for our modified tier. So our modified plan is the lower plan of all 3. So we put that in the middle, because if they were to answer yes in any of these questions, they would not need to answer anything in question C or block C, because they only qualify for modified. So we put that in the middle. If they answered yes, you would never see a tab for segment B or C, I'm sorry. But if they answer no, you would see the C tab populate. Another thing to kind of not pay attention, but to understand here is this case has now entered into our backend system so that we can start ordering the evidence and compiling the data to make a decision on this case. So we would ask that you just take your time going through these questions, because that process can take up to about 2 minutes. And if you were to get through these questions too fast, there's potential that the case could make it to us without all of the data, and we would not be able to pass back the actual approved plan that they qualify for. So if you take your time and read the questions, there should not be an issue. But if you blitz through them, there is an opportunity where you may not get a qualified plan on screen because the system didn't have enough time to make the decision. But you would just go through all of these questions. And as soon as I hit no, you should see the tab C populate. If I were to hit yes, segment C would not populate because we would not need it. This particular applicant is clean for segment B, so we're going to move on to segment C. So this particular applicant is clean in segment C as well, and we will get to the existing insurance tab. At this point, if they have external insurance elsewhere and they are wanting to replacement, that would be another instance where this would not qualify for a plan right away. And that's because we have to send a letter out to that external company advising them of the replacement. So we need time to be able to do that. We would not be able to auto issue a policy if they were externally replacing. But you would be able to enter in that information here. If they don't have any insurance, you don't have to fill that information out. You can go straight into the next process. And it's at this point that the backend system should have all the information they need. That we're now sending them all of the rest of the medical questions. Once they get those medical questions, they're going to take that information, they're going to take the evidence that we've ordered, they're going to put them together, and they're going to give back to the EAP system the plan that they qualify for. So at that point, all of that has been done. The policy's in good order. We're going to lock all of that information up to this point. When you get to this screen, if you get to the plan and you drop down and there is only one plan in that drop down, that is what they qualify for. So this individual's, their evidence was good, their medical was good, they qualify for level. We're not even going to show you modified or graded because the level is the top plan. So there would not appear to be a reason to need to approve or apply for modified or graded if level is the best plan. So we give you the best plan available. If you get to this screen and there's all three options in the dropdown, that would indicate one of two things. They were replacing coverage elsewhere, or their evidence came back and their MVR was not good enough for us to approve, or their prescription report came back and the score on that prescription report was outside the boundaries we've set for this product. So if you ever see three plans listed in that dropdown, there has not been a decision made on this case yet. You're still able to go through the entire application, send it to us, and the underwriter will look at it and approve based off of our rules on the back end. But in this case, there is only one plan, so they have qualified for level. We've now implemented an in-app quote. So if I want to check for face amount or premium, I can solve for that amount. We applied for $12,000 to begin with. So I'm gonna solve for the premium on a face amount of $12,000 for a level plan. I'm going to pick the effective date, which has to be either today's date or in the future. And when I hit quote, I will get the options for annual, semi-month, quarterly, and monthly. 114.57 was what was quoted originally. So that looks to be all in order.
Hey, Zach.
Yes.
If you could, we've had some questions here in the room and online about going over the levels again and what it takes to qualify for each level.
Get to be
Yes.
Yeah, I can go over that at the end. We can kind of go over what qualifies for a level, modified, and a graded. I don't have the actual values handy, so I'll ask maybe either Eric or Lauren, who's joined the call, to gather that information, and we can discuss it at the end.
Okay, perfect. And I think the big question was just, so if you answer yes to A, then you can't. If you answer yes to B, then you get that, and you know what I mean. So
gotcha. Okay. Yep. So yeah, medical question segment A, it just establishes the basis for coverage. So if they don't qualify or they answer yes for anything in segment A, they're deemed not eligible for any final expense plan at all. The next segment B is what we consider our modified plan segment. If they answer anything yes in that, they do not qualify for graded, they only qualify for modified. If they answer no through both sections of A and B, they can then proceed to C, and C would then determine if they qualify for graded or level. If they answer anything yes in segment C, that's our kind of graded qualification. So we would know they don't qualify for level, they qualify for more than modified because they answered no in the modified block, but they answered yes in the graded block, so they would only qualify for graded. If they are no through A, B, and C, pending the results of the evidence that we order, they would qualify for level.
perfect, thank you. And on the amounts of coverage and all that, John has given us a printout here that shows all that. I will email that out to all of our agents this afternoon,
Yes, maybe pull it on my-
or if you have it online or whatever, but yeah, we'll email it too, and yeah, make sure everybody has it and stuff. But yeah,
And one thing that the system will do for us is if we approve this at level, you should get an indication of if that face amount fits within the that plan or not. So, and level's a bad example, but I think modified has a lower face amount. If this individual qualified for modified and you tried to put in an amount that was over what we allow for modified, the system would let you know that you cannot do that, and it would ask you to lower the face amount in order to run the quote. So if we move forward in this, we now are entering into the payment information. We have an initial premium amount. So this is how we would, or the initial payment method. So this is how we would pull the payment to put this policy in force. We have being able to do EFT or a check or by paper check. If you do EFT, we have implemented a new ability to pick a day of the month, or they can pick a week of the month and a day within the week. And this is for initial and subsequent. So if I wanted to choose the second Tuesday of the month for my initial draft, I would come in and pick week 1 of 4 weekday. I want the second week of the month. And I want the second Tuesday of the second week of the month. That would be the second Tuesday of the month for the initial premium. We also are collecting information for the subsequent. So if they want to pay for it differently moving forward, they have a way they want to pay for it up front, but they want to pay for it differently down the road. We can set that up differently, or you can set it up the same. For this purposes, we'll show that we want it second Tuesday for the initial, but we want the third Monday for the subsequent. You can set them up different. Moving on down. Now we're into yep.
on the direct pay, I'm assuming you can only do direct pay with quarterly, semi-annually, and annually.
Correct.
Okay.
Moving on down, we've picked EFT, so we are going to collect all that bank information up front and apply it to the EFT form. This all works pretty standard. There's an address lookup. Pick the account type. Put the account number in. And at this point, we can move on into if the payer is somebody different than the insured. For the testing purposes, I want to show how that works, but you could choose that it is the insured for this case and you wouldn't be asked any other information. But in this case, I want to show you how the signature works. So we're going to say the spouse is going to pay for this. I'm going to use a specific cell phone number so that I can show that the PIN comes in and that we can apply it. Then you move into the beneficiary section, which is pretty standard. This has not changed from across our other lines of business. Something to note here is if you choose other individual or other entity, this is something that Pekin underwriters will need to look at and to find out what that means or who that is, and to make sure that that relationship is an acceptable relationship to have as a beneficiary. So if you choose other individual or other entity, it will kick out of the instant issue process. It'll get referred to an underwriter on the back end. They'll probably reach out to the agent and figure out what that relationship is. If it's acceptable, they'll issue the policy and send it out. If not, they'll discuss with the agent why that was not acceptable. But it's just important to note that if you pick other down here, it will kick it out.
It's basically saying approved.
Hey, Zach, and at this point, you had the question, at this point, do you know what they're approved for?
Yep, on the coverage screen, you would only see the plan that they have qualified for, and we're only going to show you the best. So they were qualified for level in this dropdown. We would not show you modified or graded because there would be no reason to show you inferior plans.
Perfect.
The reason why we're waiting to do owner, beneficiary, everything till after that is because if they don't qualify for anything, it's kind of a waste of your guys' time to go through all that info if they don't qualify then once you go through the health questions. So we go through all the health questions, make sure they qualify. We get the plan, we get the face amount. They say, yep, that sounds good. Then you go through ownership, Benny, all of that kind of stuff. It just seemed like that workflow probably worked a little better for this product just because of the knockout situation. So.
So at this point, you can add multiple beneficiaries. They just have to equal a total share percentage of 100. And then you can also add contingent beneficiaries should you choose so. You move on. We're getting close to the end. At this point, you can add attachments to this file should you need to. A cover letter explaining reason for business, an illustration that you ran, financial documents, or any other miscellaneous documents that you wish to attach. And we're coming up to this last screen here. This is just one more by verbally agreeing consent verbiage, and this applies to the insured only. So up to this point, all the information has really been asked of the insured. Once they acknowledge that they read this above statement, the insured's responsibility on this application is done. You can probably release them from the phone call unless you wanted to let them know that they were approved. But if you needed to get payer information for the PIN to apply a signature, or owner information to get the PIN to apply their signature, and you needed to call them, at this point, the insured's obligation on this application is complete. And we would lock this application once more so that all this information stays the same. And this will immediately take you into the signature process for any parties that are different than the insured. So if the insured is the owner, payer, and insured on this policy, you would not need to move forward into an additional signature process because that initial signature process of the KVA or the text my PIN has applied to all documents. But in this case, we made the payer somebody different, so they would have to go through this process. You are also able to, at this point, still print the application, get a wet signature on it, send it in to us. It will not send all of this data to us electronically, but it would apply to the form. You'd be able to print it, get a signature, send it in to us that way. But if you move forward electronically, any party that is not the insured would go through this process. So the payer is different. They also have consent verbiage that should be read to them. Once it's read and they acknowledge, the capability to send them the PIN happens. Until that is acknowledged, it is not available. But once it is, we're going to send the PIN. And it could take up to a minute to get it. You're going to get a text message. They're going to get a text message that looks very similar to this.
The question, all of the forms of questions and the PIN can all be done if you're doing the app over the phone, correct?
Correct. Yes, we will not be sending anything off via email for signatures. This can all be done over the phone.
Okay.
So I got the text message with my PIN. I come in, I enter it, and I verify it. I should get a success message, and now my obligation as the payer is done. My signature has been applied to the EFT form. I have no other responsibilities. If there was a separate owner, they would also be down here and require the same process. You would get their PIN, verify it. You would get a owner signature complete, and they would also be done. And then now all that's left is the agent to sign, which is very similar to our current process. You attest that everything to your knowledge has been correct. You can review the documents should you choose to want to make sure everything mapped correctly and looks like it should. So everything we filled out is mapped to the app. All the medical questions are filled in. This app is good to go. All it's missing is the agent's signature. Fill in the city that you're signing in. Apply your signature. And you will come to one more screen. And that's our submit screen. And then you can now print and view all signed documents because now the agent signature has been applied. And then there's one more field that needs to be considered, and that's this requested effective date. And the reason this has now been implemented is because for whatever reason, you're on a phone call with an insured and they have to leave. You have to abandon that case for a day, 2 days, however long it takes to get that insured back on the case. Because we cannot backdate on this policy, we need to allow you to be able to put a new effective date on that policy, because 2 days ago it was 4/4. I finally got the application fully completed today to send to Pekin. It's 4/6. I need to change that effective date to 4/6 or it'll be a back date and it won't go through. So the requested effective date will now come to the very end. If it's the same day, it will pre-fill and you don't have to choose anything. If you did abandon the case and you picked it back up tomorrow, it would ask you to, I think it would actually even pre-fill with tomorrow's date. And then if you wanted to put an effective date out in the future, you could do that as well. Just note that if you abandon the case and their birthday was yesterday and now their age is different today, effective date could change the premium based off of what their age was when we were unable to finish the application. So now I have the requested effective date set. I submit it to Pekin, and on screen you should get a green check mark and a congratulations message that lets you know that this policy was instant issued, it's auto approved, and it's now in Pekin to send out via the delivery method that we've asked. If we picked mailed to owner, insured, or agent, it will go into our overnight batch process. The physical copy will get printed, and the next morning it will go out in the mail. If you chose e-delivery, there is a slight delay, and that's because our backend systems need time to process this all the way through into the delivery process, and that delay takes about 6 minutes. So from this message, 6 minutes later, the agent will get an email notification that the policy is ready to be reviewed. You'd launch into the e-delivery process that way, and then you'd be able to deliver the policy electronically. And that is the end of my demo.
Awesome. I did have one question. When do you, and you may have said this, I missed it. When do you guys pay? Do you pay upon approval or upon the payer or the applicant paying premium?
I'll need a little help on the actual rules, but we do 2 different versions of it. I believe if it's EFT, we pay upon approval, and if it's direct, we pay upon activate of the policy.
Yep. That's correct.
Yeah, I just go ahead and move on to a question and answer session here if we could. Thanks, Zach. That was very informative. Eric on here and Zach.
Yep, thank you.
One thing that came up already was, so they don't have a driver's license, they have a state ID. That can't be done electronically, correct? So would they be able to do a paper?
Yeah, they'd be able to do a paper app and submit it that way for now. We wanted to get this system up and running, and then we'll tweak as we can, but the driver's license thing was going to take a bit to get done. We wanted to get that implemented and out, and then we'll make tweaks to that, different things as we are able to soon. So,
and the reason being is MVR is a piece of the puzzle to this approval process. So without the MVR, we'd have to figure out a way to circumvent that and still come up with an ability to approve it.
Right.
I hate to even talk about that.
Any other questions, guys? That's the way it's going to be.
We had that come up this last week.
I'm sure it's under, I keep on that question.
Yeah.
That's the way
Eric
it's
is
going
in
to
there.
be.
Eric, we had a situation this last week come up with a transgendered individual. Yeah. What do you put down for the gender and how do you?
So, yeah, so currently, until we're told we have to differently, we are rating it as that person was born because that's their biological makeup for their mortality. So if they were born a male, we would rate them a male, regardless of how they identify. The reason for that is life insurance is set up for mortality. Their mortality would be based upon being a male. So that's why we rate it that way. Until the federal government steps in and says we have to do it differently, that's probably how we're going to do it for now. So
So we go over the trips.
How's the,
And that is a driver's license, not just a valid ID, correct?
right, yeah. So yeah, like Zach said, we have to have the driver's license because the MVR is a piece of the instant issue. And if we don't have something to validate the MVR, it doesn't know what to do with it right now. So we're trying to figure that piece out. We didn't want to delay release on all of that just because of that, kind of hang up right now. So you can do paper apps with a state ID, send it in. We'll do the underwriting on it as an instant issue basis as much as we can. And then it may be a phone call. It may just be we issue it. So, but yeah, for now, that's how we'll handle it.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. I mean, a couple of things that have changed from our traditional. We're excited to get this product out to you guys. This is what everybody's been asking for a long time. We finally got it put together, but during the electronic application process, the two cool things I think are that you don't have to quote up front if you don't want to. You can just go right into the app, say, let's see what you qualify for, and then there's an actual quote process within the e-app, which we've never had before. The other is the signature method. The email signature back and forth was a pain in the butt. There was all kinds of problems with it, especially with older people getting their email, clicking on the wrong boxes, all that kind of stuff. We had problems with it. So this new email or this new signature process is pretty exciting to have. So.
Yeah, if I could actually steal back the screen, we're starting to see some of these policies roll in to begin with. And one thing we saw on one already was an agent did skip the HIPAA signature process. So one thing I want to try to work on here very quickly is to move this, and I can't show the screen any longer, but I want to move that skip HIPAA signature process after the KBA and try to at least get an agent to get this signature applied digitally. So if you skip it before you even enter into the KBA, it's never going to flow through as an instant issue where you're going to be able to fill the app and send it to us, but we're going to be requesting wet signatures. It's going to stop the signature process altogether. If you at least try the KBA and you try the text my pen and those fail, we want you to have the opportunity to still fill out the application. But we should at least try to get the KBA or text my pen to work first so that this process can work.
All right, guys, any other questions?
Amy had one.
All right, so a couple over. Number one, they've got some trips coming up that you can qualify for. We will send out, I'm going to send out I'll email out the qualifications and stuff like that for it, but you can choose one of two trips in 2023, either a sightseeing trip in a scenic trip, sightseeing, in Palm Springs. And so there's that. And then there's a fishing trip, a 2023 fishing trip. You can choose one of those. The qualifications, I'll send those out, but basically, if you can write up to $50,000 of paid premium, that'll get you in on the trip. If you write 100,000, then it sends 2 people plus 2 extra days on the scenic trip. That can be 100,000 of life and Medicare supplement. I'm assuming that's either life or it's combined as well.
It's combined. If you read down low, it just has to have a minimum.
You go to
of
Minimum of
75.
75,000 in life. Okay, and I'm gonna send all this out. The gold trip is 75,000 of paid premium, earns trip for 2. And that's 75,000 combined life and underwritten Medicare, and it has to be a minimum of 50,000 in life. And then for the FMO level, it's 300,000 of paid premium, must be a minimum of 200,000 paid life insurance. The other thing too, Brian just mentioned, we have the main event on May the 4th. Any apps that are issued between now and May the 4th, an extra $100 bonus, and we will give that out at the main event. And we're working on John Matchner, so I don't know, he said something.
I'm gonna thank Brian for that.
But yeah, any apps written between now and May 4th, we will issue.
$100 bill for everyone.
I get a $100 bill for everyone, and you guys know I love giving away Brian's money, so be sure and get on that. And then on our CSG site, right now it's still showing the old Pekin product. Please do not go by that. We are releasing. I've been talking to our guy over at CSG, and he said they will release the new rates either late today or early tomorrow. So be sure and be looking for that. For now, though, go to Pekin's website and run the rates for the illustrations and stuff like that. Run them through there. But we will have that out hopefully today. And then we will also be sending out commissions. We're going to try to have those out by the end of the week to let you know what you're going to be paid. It's much higher than it was. So
Right.
that's a good
That's
thing.
part of the feedback that we received.
Right. So, yeah. Sorry. about that. I only called you twice. So, all right, guys, great stuff. Any other questions from anybody in the room here? All right. Well, Zach, Eric, John, thank you guys very much. And guys, let's get out there and write some Pekin. Like I said earlier, where this thing is going to shine, there's very few products that are in the graded and modified space that go down to 2,000. And there's very few products that go up to 50,000 in the level benefit. So I think that is a place where they're going to take over the market. So be sure and look out. Think about people, maybe you wrote some on and they wanted more, but all you could write them was 30,000. It'd be a great time to go back and visit them and go up to 50,000.
Hey, Eric, for you, I got one quick question. If someone, it shows on there that they're not accepted for level, but we really should be, and the client feels like they should be, and they really want Pekin price, is there something that is ability that we go ahead and turn that in, maybe on a paper application to sort of, explain maybe why you guys, what the problem was of not getting level?
Yeah, if they don't qualify for level, it's going to be either because of the way the application was filled out or the RX score or MVR. Those are really the only touch points we have. So with that, you can send it in. Zach, you can't send that in electronically then, right? It just automatically kicks them into like modified or graded, whatever they.
They'll get approved at modified, but prior to activate, if you get the policy and you do not agree with the approved plan, there's a potential we could review that, reissue it at the different plan and get the new policy out before it was activated.
So it'd be probably more of a phone call
Yep.
to Tara Bruder, who's your underwriter, and say, hey, this person thinks they should be level. And we can say what it was due to. If it was due to the RX score, there was a hit in the RX. We could go through the process then of getting you the information that the RX score provided. You typically have to go through Milliman to get it, but they can get that run. If there's an error or something that they feel like they can get that removed, then we could resubmit it probably and rerun it. So yeah, we try to make this as cut and dry as we can, but we're also one of the things that we've always prided ourselves on with underwriting is that we'll take a second look at something. We're willing to listen to you guys if you call in with certain situations. We know it's tough to fit everybody into boxes 100% of the time. We're trying to make this as automated as possible, but underwriting lives in a gray area. I mean, that's why we have underwriters. So if there's one that doesn't fit into one of those boxes you think should, just make the phone call and we'll take a look. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Last thing too, guys, if you are not contracted with Pekin, please reach out to your upline. If you're connected just with us, reach out to me and we'll get you contracted, set up with Pekin quickly. So, all right. Well, guys, thank you again. I appreciate you guys. We're going to be putting this training. If you want to see this training again, we will put it up. It'll probably be early next week. We'll be put up on our Secure IG website, and you can go back and review that. Otherwise, if you have any questions or anything we can do for you, please let us know. Have a great week.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.